Good afternoon once again to all our viewers. Our next session today is hosted by Biolandes. The Biolandes Group is an independent, family-owned French company whose core activity is the production of aromatic plant extracts for professionals in the beauty, well-being, and nutrition sectors. Since it was founded by Dominique Coutier in the late 1970s, the group has diversified greatly and expanded around the world. FAFAI is thankful to Biolandes for joining the FAFAI Virtual Bazaar once again this year. Joining us today from Biolandes is Mr. Benoit Lemont. Over to you, sir, to begin your session.
Thank you, Krish. Yes, thank you, Krish, for the introduction. I would like to first express my gratitude to the FAFAI organization for allowing me to give you a short presentation on naturals. Thank you all for attending this presentation, which will deal with upcycling, recycling, and recovery of industrial products. So let me share my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, it's visible.
Perfect. In a world where the need to preserve energy resources is paramount, we are no longer recycle, we upcycle. Upcycling is an emerging practice that enhances used objects and or products by giving them a new qualitative life. This is one of the strong strains of the circular economy. In concrete terms, the idea is to recover materials or products that are no longer used to create objects or products of superior quality. When we upcycle, we in fact reuse. The term upcycling appeared for the first time in the mid-90s. Rainer Plitz was an ex-engineer turned into interior designer, contrasted traditional recycling, which destroys everything, and which he calls downcycling, with upcycling, so that unused products gain value instead losing. The positive impact on the environment is unsurprisingly the first benefit. Indeed, the principle is to reuse, avoid waste, and reduce waste production. The concept also appeals to creativity by stimulating our neurons to find a new use for a given object. It also encourages the creation of unique objects or limited series. Let's see how this concept has been applied since the creation of Biolandes in our business, which is the extraction of plants to serve our aroma and perfume industry. We will distinguish three variations of upcycling. First, create added values to core productions by using the unused part of the plants. And we'll take the example of pine. Second, we will describe how we can use byproducts from other industries. And on third, we will describe how we use byproducts which are generated during the production process. So let's start with the first one. To do this and to explain how upcycling is closely linked to the DNA of our company, it's worth going back to the origin of the creation of the company Biolandes. Biolandes was established in the middle of a very large pine forest based in southwest part of France. The history of this forest dates back to 1850, when at this time, This region was a swampy, uncultivable, and sparsely populated area. Napoleon III decided to develop the area by building a vast network of drainage channels and planting pine trees, which was at that time the only forest species capable to grow in this area. This region, which today has more than 1 million hectares of pine tree, has developed on the basis of the use of resins for the production of turpentine and rosin, and on the wood industry with the development of numerous sawmills and paper manufacturing plants. Bioland was created 40 years ago on a simple idea: to create value with byproducts from the pine forest industry. We first used the sawdust from the wood industry to burn it and to make the steam needed for the distillation. And then we collect the branches that remain on the ground after the wood cutting to extract and distill the needles to get the essential oils and the pine absolute. Then we valorize the bark first by sorting it to sell it as much bark for parks and gardens, but also by producing an extract which is rich in polyphenols and which is now sold as a powerful antioxidant agent that can be used as natural active extracts in food supplements. From the outset, Biolandes has been offering an essential oils of Pinus pinaster obtained by steam distillation that can be used in compositions mainly for its powerful terpene top notes, which boosts functional perfumery compositions and home fragrances with a green woody note. But we also produce an interesting pine absolute through solvent extractions, which is unique ingredients in the formulations of Fougère Accord for perfumes because of its tremors and woody scents, looking like fresh cut pine wood scent. We will see this ingredient in a formula later on. With these various byproducts of the forest industry in hand, we have developed 2 other extracts made with byproducts coming from other industries nearby us. We'll first see our Oakmoss Absolute. France is well known for its prestigious wines and exceptional liqueurs. We are located not far from the Bordeaux vineyards and in the heart of the Armagnac liqueur production. So it was only natural for us to take an interest in the residues from the productions of barrels and other casks. This industry, which is well represented near our production site, transforms oak staves into barrels. The manufacturing process generates sawdust from multi-century old French oak wood, selected from exclusive manufacturer of barrels in the most beautiful forest of central France. Once extracted and transformed into absolute, this oak wood has a woody, tannic, slightly vanilla smell that can be found in the best barrel-aged wines. This extract will give an original licorice woody note to your patchouli or sandalwood compositions. Second example is the cedarwood extracts. In North Morocco, near Ifrane, there is the largest cedarwood forest in North Africa, growing in the foothills of the Atlas Mountains. By the way, we have a factory there. And cedar is a wood-proof wood that resists attack from pests, in particular because of this is high content of essential oils that protects the wood. It is used in particular to make carved doors that protect the entrance of medinas or riads. This industry also generates sawdust. And we used the sawdust, the collected sawdust, to produce by steam distillation cedar wood oil, and by solvent extraction, the cedar wood absolute. The terpenic, woody, and almost animalic essential oils will be suitable for the top of your compositions to give a camphorated, resinous note, when the more complex absolute will bring the warmth of wood, a knot of beeswax, and will be treated to reconstitute sandalwood nuts. So it's a very popular extract that we are starting to sell in India. The third way of the upcycling concept at Biolandes was to create new extract from the raw material already exhausted by the steam distillation. This is the concept of the Bioabsolute. Our Bioabsolute range was born nearly 30 years ago. This range of extracts was born from the reprocessing of distilled plant to extract them with solvents. Thanks to this unique approach, we are capable now to enrich the perfumer palette because of that. If we look at the process, which is a very simple process, a raw material is first distilled to obtain the essential oils and the hydrosol. Then the exhausted raw material undergoes to a second solvent extractions, allowing us to produce a bioconcrete, which is the first steps to obtain the bioabsolute. This original process consists in extracting the heaviest molecule remaining in the raw material after the distillation. We use for that dedicated solvents. This technique has an advantage of highlighting new molecules whose effect was previously masked by the more volatile molecules. The bioabsolutes obtained in this way develop original characteristics that bring new facets to raw material. Let's take the example of the rose. We have here two comparative mirror chromatograms between, at the top, the rose bioabsolute, and at the bottom of the slide, the rose absolute. You'll see the differences of the peak. We can clearly see the expression of volatile molecules. Sorry, the volatile molecules, as you can see in the rose bioabsolute, is much less than into the rose absolute. It's understandable because into the rose absolute you may have the more volatile part of the oil, when it's completely absent in the rose bioabsolute. And the second thing which is very interesting is that you can see there's a larger peak of one component, which is obtained into the rose absolute, bioabsolute, and which is very in low dosages in the rose absolute. These new molecules contribute to modify the classical profile of the extracts by creating new odors, and they are probably generated during the storage of the exhausted materials before processing the rose bioabsolute, probably a fermentation. In the case of rose bioabsolute, we discover a pinkish animal scent that will go particularly well in oriental compositions where rose and agarwood have their place. Let's now take the example of Cistus Bioconcrete and BioAbsolute, where we replicated the same process. Surprisingly enough, in addition to the amber character of the Cistus, we discover in that extracts a woody, smoky facet. These products are widely used in Agarbatis fragrances, for example, because they are also very good in burn. Let's now take the example of Cypress BioAbsolute. With this extract, we discover hay, balsam, and tobacco nuts that will give an original scent to the Fougera core. This is far cry from the very terpenic aspect of the cypress essential oils. The same surprise with Eucalyptus BioAbsolute, which once it has been stripped of this cineol content, develops woody, hay, and spicy herb scents. It will be suitable for, again, fougère or chypre accords in fragrances. And finally, a revelation for us last year with Sandalwood BioAbsolute, which brings smells of cocoa, gingerbread, which will give an original woody, sweet touch to the composition. To illustrate the use of these products from upcycling range, I now present you two fragrances. The first fragrance composition is a room fragrance composition called French Forest. This is a 100% natural home fragrance where we have used two upcycling ingredients. We use the Pine Absolute, which brings a woody note and gives a warm resinous effect that reminds the smell of pine forest in summer. We also use the Cedarwood Absolute, which plays the role of prolonging the woody cedar note as a base note, reminiscent of the smell of cedarwood being cut. The second fragrance is a home fragrance, also a shower gel fragrance, can be used as both, called Orage. The use of Oakwood Absolute brings a rounder note at the beginning, more luxurious and more persistent. We lose the fresh citrus note to the profit of more woody and powerful evolutions that reveals the musk and boost the sandalwood and vetiver. This formula is a very excellent formula in Agarbatis application also. In conclusions, upcycling therefore has many virtues. It gives a second life to byproducts while remaining them and enhancing them and making a difference with original naturals that will sign the compositions of daring creators. This is almost the end of the presentations. I invite you to ask our exclusive distributor in India, in the person of Associate Allied Chemicals India, for any request of samples of these upcycling ingredients. And I remain at your disposal for any questions that you may have. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benoit. That was indeed very informative. We have a question from the audience. Can you please explain in terms of performance in the formulation, how is the BioAbsolute different from the regular Absolute?
I would say that because the Absolute contains some portions of oil components, The biabsolute it's not the case for the biabsolute. And then the biabsolutes are very useful to make the body of the compositions and the base. And that's why they started to begin very successful, because it's a new facet of the ingredients. And because they are full of heavy molecules, which we have absolutely exhausted the rest of the raw materials, and every of the flavor compounds are there, and it gives they are mainly used to shape the body of the formula.
Okay. The second question, sir, is that is a little more general. Is climate change expected to have an effect on the agricultural industry, especially from the point of view of quality of natural products?
It's a very big and tough, difficult question. There are so many different examples all over the world where you can have some global warming that it's very difficult to answer these questions. I'm presently in Madagascar, visiting our factory that we have here. And I see the things, we have a plantation of ylang-ylang, which is very close by to the sea. And I would say that I see year per year the level of sea rising,
Yeah.
and affecting the border, the border of our plantations. And I see few trees in a very bad shape because of the salty water that they have frequently. So this is maybe a very small example of what the global warming can affect, at least the production. I don't think it will affect soon the composition of the products. But apparently, I can see that, and I can see it because I was visiting the field this morning, that the sea level going, flooding the field time to time is affecting the trees.
Okay. Well, on behalf of FAFAI, sir, we would like to express our gratitude to you for joining us once again this year. Thank you very much for being present here today. And thank you for a very informative and lovely presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.